Hey there guys, thanks for clicking on this video. I'm going to run through all the books that I read in April and let you know my thoughts on them. So quick stats on them. I read 16 books in April. 9 of those were physical books. 1 of them was a digital book and 6 of them were audiobooks. 2 of those I did a combination of audio and physical reading. I have no idea what the genre breakdown of those was. There was a mixture of romance. It was mostly romance and fantasy, but I also read 1 literary fiction and 1 thriller. So I am going to go through them from my least favorite to my most favorite. All right, the first book I read was A Song to Drown Rivers. I don't have the physical book of this. This was an audiobook from Libby. It's a new release by Anne Liang. I rated this 3.25 stars. A Song to Drown Rivers is about our main character, Zisha, and she is just a very beautiful girl. And so, you know, her whole life she was kind of raised to just be this beautiful girl, and she was told like that was what her worth was going to be. And then a couple of soldiers come into her small town. They're at war, and they tell her that she can use her beauty as a weapon. And after the death of her sister, she wants to go ahead and fulfill this obligation to her country and her family to help take down the king. It was a really good and emotional book. I didn't love the ending, and if you read it, you'll know why. So it just kind of let me down. The writing was beautiful, very descriptive, and I loved it. Really painted a picture of where you were, and it was just beautiful to listen to. But there wasn't a whole lot of action, I'd say, which I think I prefer a bit more going on. The next book I read was A Reign of Rose. This is the 3rd book in the Sacred Stones trilogy. Overall, the trilogy is pretty fun. You know, it's just kind of like they're all pretty quick reads. This was one that I believe I listened to on audio as well as read it, which helped make it go faster. Is it my favorite trilogy? Fantasy romance trilogy? Definitely not, but it is unique. So that's nice. I rated this a 3.75. Overall, I think that would be an accurate rating for the whole trilogy. The first one I think I rated higher. The first one is A Dawn of Onyx, and I really liked that one. But as the world grew and the story grew, I just became less interested. Not super spicy. There are definitely some spicy scenes, but it's like a couple here and there. It's not like the whole story has it laced throughout. So I did appreciate that. It was, I think I'd say, more plot heavy than romance heavy. The 3rd book I read, I also rated a 3.75, is Finlay Donovan Digs Her Own Grave. I read this one on audiobook. These ones are so much fun on audiobook. Super quick listens. They're just kind of funny and lighthearted. There's a mystery element to them. With the Finlay Donovan series, there's always like some sort of accidental death or murder and how they're covering it up. The circumstances in her life are just kind of sticky, and so she has to maneuver her life in a way so that she's not hurting her kids or her ex-husband or her new love interest. So it's just kind of balancing all those dynamics. So it's really funny, super lighthearted. It almost reads like, what was that? It has nothing to do with vampires, but what was that show? Was Drew Barrymore in that? Something about California? If I think of the name of the show, I'll pop it on the screen, but it gives like similar vibes to me. So I think it's a fun one. It's not like overly gory. I think it's just like a good mix of everything. The next book I read is Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. I also rated this a 3.75. This was a super quick read, lighthearted, funny rom-com. I definitely laughed a few times. I wouldn't say there was anything like bad about it. but it's not my favorite Lynn Painter book. I love her books because they're sweet. There's just something about it. Like her writing is really good, but the concept in this one it was just so. The concept of it is that there's a man who people hire to object at their wedding so that they don't have to call off the wedding. I was kind of like, what's the point of that? But they explain that the point is if the person in the wedding were to call it off, it would kind of harm them in some way. But if an outsider like points out the wrongdoing of the to-be spouse, then the consequences aren't as dire. So it's definitely cute. I believe it's not fake dating. No, it is fake dating in a way. It's done a little bit differently than you might normally think. But then they become friends and eventually get together, which is not a spoiler. It's a romance book. If you want something quick and fun, or if you just love Lynn Painter and because I've heard mixed reviews on this one, people didn't love it, but I think it was worth the read. I think it was a fun book to read. The next book I read was Margot's Got Money Troubles. I also listened to this one on audiobook, and I rated it 4 stars. I thought this one was great. It was lighthearted, but also pretty serious. She becomes a young single mom and has to kind of navigate how she's going to afford to raise a baby on her own, and stumbles upon OnlyFans and then starts to look into how she could make money via OnlyFans. So it's a really interesting, like, modern view of essentially like how to go viral and make money doing something like OnlyFans or TikTok. And as a mom, I think that also made the reality of her situation, like, it got to me a couple of times. It was very emotional, but not like overly emotional, like in a good way. So it's just kind of like her crazy life and how she manages with a new son while also trying to make money on OnlyFans. I think it was really fun. The next book I read was Sunrise on the Reaping. I also listened to this one on audiobook. I mean, I was a Hunger Games girly in, I think it was high school. I rated this one 4 stars. So it was so emotional. How could it not be? Everyone loves Haymitch. You have to love it. He's like the character that you love. You don't hate him. He's funny. And so to see like why he is the way he is, I think it was really interesting. Some of the characters in there were just wonderful. Maisie was by far a favorite, but it is heart-wrenching, as all of the Hunger Games books are. It's kind of crazy to think that I would, like, high schoolers read that, and younger, because definitely people younger than me read that when it came out. So it's a lot. It's gory, as all of them are, but it's definitely worth a listen, especially if you've read the Hunger Games. The next one I read on my Kindle, it was called Just This Once by Lena Hendricks. I rated this one 4 stars as well. This is part of the King family series, and I think it was like a free Prime read or something. I don't currently have Kindle Unlimited, but I know it's on Kindle Unlimited, but it was like a free read. So I was like, well, I'll give it a try. I saw someone had rated it pretty highly on Goodreads, so I wanted to try it out. It was a small town romance with a firefighter. So that was different. I've never read a firefighter romance. And then this is part of the King family series. There was one before, the Sullivan family series, which they talked about a few of the couples in this one. So it could be potentially a spoiler. So if that's going to bother you, then start with the Sullivan family. It didn't really bother me, and I could probably go back and read the other ones, and it would still be interesting if I was wanting to continue the series. I'd say it was pretty spicy from the get-go. It starts with like a one-night stand, and so you just kind of jump right into it, but I don't think anything was like overly graphic. I don't know. There's some books that are like everything is like sexual. So like she laughs and his dick jumps or something. But yeah, I haven't decided if I'm going to continue the series. Maybe if I get Kindle Unlimited again, I will. But there's just other romance books that I want to read more than that. The next 3 books that I read were from An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I gave this one a 4.25 stars. The second one, A Torch Against the Night, I gave 4 stars. And then A Reaper at the Gates, I gave 4.25 stars. I've not yet finished this series. I've got one more to finish it, so I'm hoping to finish that this month. But I'm getting through my May TBR first, and then I'm going to read it. The first 2, I just only read the physical books and really liked them. The third one, I also added in the audiobook, and the voice for Elias is like an older man, not like an older man, but like 30 or 40-year-old man. And I think they're supposed to be like 20, and it didn't sound like he was 20. So it kind of threw me off. So if you're one that like the narration on audiobooks will throw you off, don't do the audiobooks for this one. But this has been all over BookTok recently. I've had this for too long and I've just kept putting it off, but I'm glad I did it. It's a YA fantasy romance, but not super romance heavy. So that's nice. And it's a totally different concept than a lot of the ones that I've read. So Leia, I call her Leia, but then the audiobook called her Laia. So now I don't know, but it makes sense for me to call her Leia. Her grandparents get killed and her brother gets taken away. Her parents were leaders of the resistance, and her parents and sister were killed a long time ago. And so she goes undercover with the resistance to try to save her brother. And it's fascinating. It's really good. It's pretty fast paced, I would say. I think the second one dragged on a little bit, and that's why I only gave it 4 stars, but it was still wonderful. And then at the end, it does have like a cliffhanger, and so you want to know what's going to happen. And then this one is very fast paced. This is very, I'd say, war heavy and political. So if you like that, hearing about that side of it, I think you'll enjoy it. I need to get lip gloss. The next book I read was actually a reread, and it was People We Meet on Vacation. I gave this 4.5 stars. I listened to it on audiobook. I don't remember it being as long as it was. I think it kind of dragged on a little bit, but it was fun. It was light, especially like listening to it. It was a good audiobook. I think when I first read it, I read it around the same time as reading Unhoneymooners, and then they all just like mixed together. So I couldn't remember which one was which or what even happened in this book. But then after rereading it, I was like, oh yeah, that's what happened. Definitely worth a read if you like Emily Henry and haven't read some of her backlist. I think it's a good one to get into. I rated that 4.5 stars. Did I say that? Okay, well now you know. Okay, well, the next book, it's slightly out of order because I thought I read this in April, but I read it in March. So I read Finding 13 in March, and I gave it 5 stars. It's so good. It's like, if you like One Tree Hill and Magnolia Park, it's like a mixture of One Tree Hill and Magnolia Parks, in that like it's the book itself is very much so like a character study, looking at the thoughts and emotions of the characters. And then it's also like, this is high school, and how is so much happening in high school. It's a lot. It's pretty heavy. Everyone says read your trigger warnings. If you know that you have triggers, then definitely read your trigger warnings. If not, then I think like if you don't have any triggers, then I think you'll be okay. How do you know if you have triggers until you are triggered? I don't know. Like I read Verity, I don't know how long ago, and that one majorly triggered me. So that's one where like, okay, I don't want to read about, I think it was like child abuse, but not child, like, I don't want to give away any spoilers. Don't read Verity if you're a mom, or a new mom, I guess. So in April, I read the second one, Keeping 13, and I rated this 4.25 stars. Oh, I gave it 4 stars. So Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh, I read in April. I gave it 4 stars. I gotta say, the feel of these books is so nice. It just flops so well. Like, I love it. These are big books and I flew through them. Like, I could not put it down. You want to know what happens. These first two are about Johnny and Shannon. Johnny and Shannon. And it's just a good book. It's like about high school, not even just high school drama, but you know, a rough home life, and then their connection and how their relationship and friendship grows. So I think it's definitely worth the hype. I'm interested in the next one. It's about Shannon's brother, Joey, and his girlfriend. So I'm excited to read that one. I think that'll be good. The next one is Every Heart a Doorway. This is by Shawnee McGuire, the first book in the Wayward Children series. This book itself is actually the first 3 books. They're all like super quick reads. This first one is like 165 pages, so like super quick. I'd say like quirky. It's about children that go through magical doors and then they come home and they can't readjust to life back home. And so their families send them to this school, and all of these doors lead to different places. So it's them coping with life being back. I'd say it's pretty whimsical, maybe definitely a little dark. There's murder. I don't think that's a spoiler. So a little bit of mystery. It's almost like fairy lore, folklore-esque. Like, I got similar vibes from Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. There's the full word. And I'm interested to keep reading the other ones. I love that they're quick, so it was nice to like pick up between a couple of books. I don't think that I'd like continue to binge the whole series, like just once every couple of months. We'll see. The next book, it's so sad it ripped, but look how cute these sprayed edges are. Summer in the City by Alex Astor. I know she also wrote Lightlark, right? And this is her like romance debut, adult romance debut. I thought it was so cute. Again, super quick, so like I flew through it. I don't know. There's a formula to romance books that so many fit into. I love when they're quick. This definitely fits into the formula, but it's different enough. It's about a tech billionaire and a screenplay writer. But there's family dynamics involved, and it talks about how she has to go to these different places to write scenes in her movies. And so with that in it, like the scenes are the places that she's going are really descriptive in here. So it's really cool. It actually made me really want to go to New York City to see a bunch of these places because it's just fun. Like I could picture what was happening there. So it's a super cute one. I definitely recommend it. 4.75 stars if I didn't say. Spice level, nothing crazy. So I'd say go for it. I got 2 left. Both of them are 5 stars. My first one is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I tried to read this a couple years ago. I don't even know when this came out. 2023. Okay, so I tried to read it in 2023. I actually tried to listen to it and I just could not follow along. It jumps timelines, and if I'm listening to that, if you miss a jump, and these ones, the way that the chapters are titled, let me find it. It says real life, which is now, and then the other option, like the jump back in time, is happy place. So if you don't like see that in a book or you don't know that, it's hard to follow. So I just had no idea what was going on, and I had no intentions of ever trying this book again. I was like, I don't know why people like that book. It's just not for me. But then I read it with a couple of my friends, and I'm so glad I did, because I connected with Win so deeply. And I've never like felt that way about a character. Like, I mean, you find things to connect with in characters all the time, but I've heard people say like, oh, I saw myself in them and it was so crazy. And I'd never felt that. And then I read this and I was like, oh my gosh, like we have the same thought processes, the same, not necessarily outlook on life, but like the way that they think and feel and life experiences kind of overlap. So just really, it just meant a lot to me. And so I'm really glad I reread this. I don't think it's for everyone. I mean, everyone's going to have books that they like and don't like. And they're, you know, I think that's actually really fascinating how some people could love a book and some people could hate it. Like, I think that's so cool. But yeah, I love this one. If you read it and also felt like Gwen, let me know. Because I'm going to have to reread this again someday. Like, it's maybe when I'm older too, and like maybe I'm out of like this phase of my life with two young kids. They don't even have kids in here. But just like where I'm at in life right now, I really resonated with this. The last book I read was Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone. I gave this 5 stars. It was so cute. She's definitely one of my top authors. I read her other one. I read Ready or Not. When did I read that? In December. And it's just so cute. I think that she very accurately describes like tough emotions. So that one was about pregnancy. Ready or Not was about pregnancy, and I've been pregnant, and so like I just like felt the characters. Promise Me Sunshine. It's a heavily talks about grief. So I think if that would be tough for you to read about, then you might want to steer clear of it. But it's about this girl. I don't ever remember their names. Does anyone know how to see? Like, I don't know how to read a synopsis on Storygraph. Like, there are things that I like about Storygraph, but it's not perfect. You know? Lenny. It's about Lenny, who lost a good friend and is just kind of stumbling through life, and she meets Miles, and he is on a mission to help her live again. And it's just really cute. He's definitely, it's kind of grumpy sunshine, but it's like not like they're not in those boxes because Lenny's grieving. And so she has these moments where like her life is just a mess and she's just a mess. And I think we can all relate to that. But it's really fun to watch their progression together. And yeah, I don't think I've ever read anything quite like this. So it was excellent. The audiobook was also very, very good. And there were some, this one had a few like flashbacks, which I was just saying I have a hard time with on audiobook, but I had no problem following it with this one. So definitely an excellent read, and I highly recommend it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm working on my ability to wrap up books and describe them, but I'm hoping that you got some recommendations out of this. And if you're on the fence about any, now you know if you're going to read or not read any of the books that I mentioned. If you've not already seen it, I picked my May TBR from a TBR jar prompts here, so you can see what I'll be reading in the month of May and what to look forward to in the next wrap up video. Thank you for watching.